Today on Drawbli, Abby is drawing
Collide.
Click that subscribe button if you're new around here.
And comment below with other ideas of what we can do to improve as artists.
So your prompt was collide. Tell me, how did you get here? This is such a striking image.
Well, we had a long list of prompts, and so this is kind of a reversal where I made the drawing first and then decided out of all of our words, the way the corners of the buildings collide with the opposing angle of everything else, that's why I chose the word collide from our list to describe this. I think it's okay to work in reverse sometimes.
I more so thought that, you know, this person is holding out their hand, obviously to like
that too,
stop,
that too.
Like something's gonna collide with them.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool pose. I didn't add the fishnet or the bracelet from her pose, but
that is fair. Those are some difficult.
This was still a longer image for me. I did a lot here.
I have seen at least close to the end of this, and it looks incredible.
Thank you. It's definitely totally different from what I've created before. I spent a lot of time on the form of this sketch. That hand, I messed with it a ton because I really wanted that hand, since it's such a big part of this, to be just the way I wanted it to be.
Your hand's a little small, but it will get bigger.
I think I did end up increasing the size.
I think the hand looks great though. For like everything there looks great for an initial pass. I love the cross contours that you have been doing lately. You did it on your spirit horse. I remember that. That looked amazing.
Yeah.
And this looks amazing.
Thank you. I really enjoyed doing that part. I think it's a really, really entertaining and fun part of my workflow. It would almost be cool to find a way to start to keep that in final drafts. Like maybe I could do some cyber character that wears like a lot of gear with like little design elements on it that wrap around the skin in a similar way. Don't mind me, just learning about perspective. Once again, I abandoned this attempt and come back to it later on. But
you can't figure it out. It goes over there somewhere.
I'm just like, what is this?
Oh my goodness.
I come back and fix it later. For sure, I totally do.
That is amazing.
But I try so hard.
Oh no, I will. That is hilarious.
And then I don't know what to say about the street sign lamppost and how it turned out. Some of the perspective ends up being seriously wonky, but the way I went about it was a really fun way to go about it. It kind of felt like vectoring a little bit, even though Procreate doesn't have a vector feature, but like dealing with hard lines.
You've never done vector art before?
No, but I read a lot of articles about it the other day just for fun.
Oh, you should talk about that.
Okay, you want me to talk about it now?
Why did you read articles about vector art?
Because when I did this, I was reminded of what I've heard vector art is. No, that's not why. It's because I watched a video on YouTube, and it was a collab video, and so I watched the collaborating artist, and they did a lot with vector art. So that's when I learned about it, and I said, oh, that's cool. And I thought, does Procreate do vector art? So I started searching it. Sure doesn't. I found a lot of articles on how to work around that. But most of it involves taking your art out of Procreate and reading it with a different software altogether.
Most things say don't.
Yes.
That is very funny. I used to do a lot of vector stuff in Illustrator just because I used to do a lot of web dev.
Yeah.
Front end. So I did a lot of web design. So
yeah, I think that'd be really fun.
some logos.
It's really good for scaling for like prints, and shower curtains is one example that I saw where you can
shower curtains,
art on shower curtains. Yeah.
Well,
shower curtains are a good way of expressing your personal taste. If you've ever gone shower curtain shopping, there's so many options nowadays, and so many beautiful options of just art scaled up, repeated or not repeated, just one giant one onto a shower curtain, which is why your art needs to be scalable.
Well, in truth, in the future, everything will be perfectly not perfectly, infinitely scalable. There will be AI that will, allow us to do that. And there already is some tools that allow us to do that. For those that don't know the difference, vector art uses like math essentially to calculate the curves of angles and shapes that you are creating. So essentially imagine a square made from pixels, which is what we use here in Procreate. Well, that was a lot better way to do that for the side of that building.
Thank you. See, I'm learning. Trial and error.
Great job.
Thank
so if
you.
you take a square and you scale it up infinitely, eventually some of those pixels are probably going to blur on that image. But with a vector, you can scale it forever, and the math just recalculates the pixels.
I had experimented with the directional perspective blur on Procreate for that too. I blurred out the top of the building just a little bit, just for fun, because I accidentally discovered that feature. And
I remember you yelling from the other room.
Ben, what is this circle?
What blurring was it?
I think it was like a direction, not the motion blur.
No, it wasn't directional blur. Perspective blur is what it was. Yes, because you were like, Ben, I discovered perspective blur, and I was like, that's useless.
I was like, I'll prove you wrong.
I'm not a huge fan of the perspective blur here in Procreate. I'm sure it's got some use cases, but for the most part, I do obviously Gaussian blur is amazing. Mm-hmm. Motion blur is also very nice for certain effects.
I think there's
How did you use the perspective blur? You said use it on the building?
Just on the building, so I was able to
section.
point towards the top of it and just blur the top out.
Does it take a gradient? Is that how it works?
I have no idea.
Do you draw a line with it in a particular angle?
Yes.
Okay.
You point it in a direction and then you scale that.
It's a gradient.
Yeah.
It's a gradient blur, essentially.
I had no idea what you meant, but yes, it is.
It goes from sharp to blurry.
Yes.
In the direction that you draw.
Oh, is that what you meant? Yes.
that would be a gradient.
I said gradient. I just thought colors.
Colors. I see that you are going back over top of your lines, doing some more lines. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that this line pass is useful for your final piece?
Yeah, I did feel it was useful. I thought it was useful because I noticed with my pass on Cleopatra, my ancient, trying to use my original sketch work in the final piece was really frustrating because it was extremely sloppy and messy. So I was like, okay, at least these will be sharper. But I ended up, I don't remember. No, I think I did take out my sketch layer, but I thought my sketch layer had a lot of value too. But it doesn't really matter because the way I ended up doing color was enough that it kind of covered up a lot of these lines, and after the color pass I did end up erasing a lot of these lines anyway. But they felt important to me at the time.
That is the great artistic pursuit, getting that sketch to work well with the finished piece.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is, I think sketches oftentimes have a very utilitarian use where it's just like, hey, this is useful to get my idea down and get some general things on the canvas. Mm-hmm. But after that, it's not even going to appear at the end.
Yeah.
But if you can, incorporate that in a good way, oftentimes it can be done in a very beautiful and successful, or two very beautiful and successful results.
Yeah, Loish talks a lot about that in her work and tutorials and anything she does. She's always trying to incorporate that sketch. So for the color pass,
Hitting up some Marky Mark.
Some Marc Brunet, yeah.
The Mr. Cube Brush himself.
Mm-hmm. He had a little simple coloring video, and I knew I desperately needed help with my coloring strategy. I know you and I have talked about and seen videos about how not everybody agrees with his method here, but for me and where I'm at in my journey, this was the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously very much has a process that works very well for him, and I think it works pretty well for a lot of people. It is a technique that I struggle with a lot, something that I need to practice. I see that you're using a soft brush here. I'm not great with the soft brush at all.
Me neither. I definitely felt like, I did that because that's what he did.
If I'm going to use the soft brush, I need to go back in and blend it even more.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I didn't know I've never done this before, so I wasn't sure what would work and what wouldn't.
That looks pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie.
Thanks. And then I was so shocked with how, it looked when I put the color back on. I was like, oh, that actually, I don't hate it. Still, I have a long ways to go in terms of mastering anything, but
Mastering anything.
literally anything. But I like this, and then doing the light pass was fun. The hardest part was definitely the hand. Still, I really struggled to get the hand to a place where I really thought I was doing it justice, I guess. But yeah, no, this coloring method, I ended up really liking it. And I'd love to learn how to improve on it someday, like you and I were talking about. But for now, this is like...
Yeah, this character is looking
a
dope.
way I've never colored before. So that was really fun for me, just to try a whole new workflow.
Yeah, I mean, I've done this general technique before where you have your shading on a different layer. I just specifically don't use the hard light layer, which I think is what he recommends. I am a big fan of soft light, though. Hard light, I feel like I can't get a huge value range from personally, but I just probably need to experiment with it a little more. That is looking so cool.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I was making it like I've never made anything like this before. This is so fun.
I've never made something badass before, but I just did.
But I just totally did. Yeah, it was.
The sign, I can see what you're talking about with the way that's like twisted or tilted.
Yeah,
I can.
yeah. It's all funny up there.
And
but...
no, she looks freaking awesome, and the perspective blur.
Love the perspective. Oh gosh.
This is such a cool piece. Oh my gosh. Great job.
Thanks. It was super, dare I say, fun to work on, as we always say. And I can't wait to see how I can use some of this process to work on stuff in the future.
And if you want to see Abby work on more stuff in the future, as well as myself, you should click that subscribe button.
And comment below. We'd love other ideas of what we can do to improve.
And this is the part where we say...
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
All right, I'm sold. Let's go live in the city, and we can take pictures of each other like this.
Oh, yeah?
The handout and the street sign.
I would look about 5% as cool as she does.
I would look about 2% as cool.